So this week's thing is all about how to get people to do what you want them to do when you want them to do it, which is one of the biggest challenges we have. They know what they want people to do, but it's just that they're not quite getting it right. Then they get stressed by the fact that people aren't doing it right, so that they then struggle with the fact that they can't change the performance of that person. They can't interact with them effectively to make it change. How your team perform is totally down to you, not them. Now that may sound slightly weird because, that person's being lazy, that person's not doing their job. We like to think it's their fault. We're pointing the blame gun at them. But actually we need to turn that blame gun around and actually ask ourselves the question, well, what could we do differently so that that person could perform better? And you suddenly come right into all the barriers associated with that because, why is it my problem if people aren't working for me properly? It must be something else. It must be to do with them. It always gets sort of skewed a bit because in every business, there's always going to be those few people that are really engaged, really motivated, really inspired and make a massive contribution to a business. And you go, why can't they all be like them? Helen didn't just suddenly appear in their business. She grew within their business and then she learned how to contribute her talents and skills and engage the rest of her team. And what her boss had been really good at doing was engaging her with the business. Helen is a character, a person who has learned from their boss what they need to do to perform well. Oh my God, they learned from their boss. They didn't know how to perform well. Well, naturally, we know how to do a job. We know how to work hard. And virtually every single human being on the planet, without fail, wants to make a contribution to something or someone. So how do we make it so that they make the contribution to my business? Instead of blaming them, we need to turn that lens round and look at ourselves. And let's look at some of the things that get in the way, first of all, of us engaging with people to improve their performance. Because it is a skill and it's a talent and it's something that you can learn. It's not something that, people are natural at it. It's something you can learn. So what are the things that get in the way? Well, one of the things that really gets in the way for a lot of people is the fear of confrontation. If I challenge somebody, then it's going to set up this opportunity for a confrontation. The second thing is there's lack of clarity in the owner, manager, leader with somebody. How do I do it? How do I talk to somebody? How do I set things up? How do I give somebody a task? How do I delegate to somebody? And the next thing is called dumping. So people just go, they're worried about all those things. So what they just go, here it is, do that for me and walk away. 9 times out of 10, that sort of delegation or giving people jobs fails for one simple reason. The person hasn't got a clue what they're doing. And the final one is a lack of respect. If you have a lack of respect for people, then they're not going to be willing to contribute to you. They're not going to be willing to, they're not going to come and help you with your business. They're going to be sitting in the back saying, well, if he doesn't think this of me, why should I respect him? Why should I respect what he wants me to do? Those are some things that get in the way, but what are the things that really enable people to do what you want to do when you want to do it? And the first thing, absolutely top of the list, is relationship. Relationship. And if you've seen any of my videos about relationship or read anything I've done about relationship, for me, relationship is 2 key things. Relationships are made up of specific purpose and specific dynamic. Every relationship you have is between you and one other person. You have a purpose for your relationship with them and they have a purpose for their relationship with you. The second thing is your communication. How you communicate, what can you communicate, how frequently you communicate with people. The communications we have are really important. Showing appreciation is really important as well. Actually appreciating people for doing the things they do encourages them to do more things for you. Basic level of appreciation is saying, thank you for doing this particular thing because it made this difference to me and it contributed to the business this way. And as soon as you are that specific about how you appreciate someone for what they've done for you, they immediately want to do it again because you've given them this absolute positive feedback about the thing that they've contributed to you. That's really important. When someone says to you, thank you, it's nice. But when someone says to you, thank you for doing this thing you did for me because it made this difference to me and it made this possible, you feel 100 times better because you know how you've contributed to that person. You know the difference you've made. And your people that work with you, that you lead, that you manage, just want to be appreciated. But they want to be appreciated genuinely. And the next thing is where it starts to get more uncomfortable. It comes back to that fear thing, is measurement and follow-up. If you ask somebody to do a job you've got to measure not just the result they get, but you've got to measure the process. Measurement is really important. When you measure somebody for the progress they're making, not just the result, you have an opportunity to intervene along the way. The aim of management and leadership is not just to tell people what to do, but it's to help them to understand the challenges and issues and put them in front of them in such a way that they can take action, they can change their action. So if you measure something, for example, let's talk about sales for a minute. So let's say you're working with a sales team, or you're working with people that you want to do recruiting or something like that. They're going to make a number of phone calls to get a meeting, or they'll make a number of phone calls to make a sale. Now, if you just measure the sales they're making, that's after the event. But if you measure the number of calls they're making, you're going to influence the number of sales, because in the end it's going to be a numbers game. So if they get one sale for every 100 calls, how many calls do you want them to make a week? If you want them to make 10 sales, they've got to make 1,000 calls. Now, whether that's realistic or not depends on your business. So it's actually the activity that gets the result. We need to measure that as well. The other thing is following up with people. When I interviewed Lorenzo Giannuzzi, he was the general manager of Forte Village in Sardinia. Wonderful man, and we were talking about performance management, we're talking about inspiring people, we're talking about growing leaders and that sort of stuff. And we had this conversation about his terminology was management by walking, and that's the whole follow-up piece. So his managers were continually following up with the team by actually walking around and seeing them and chatting to them whilst they were doing the job. So not waiting to the end of the week and then having a meeting and sitting down with them and formalising it, but actually being there, being present when their team were performing and noticing the good things and showing appreciation. And if something was not quite going correctly, stepping in and saying, hey Joe, maybe you could try this, because the result you're getting is over here, we want this result. So if you try something different, maybe it'll work better. How about that? Give that a go. And then letting them try again. One of the fears, if you like, that get in the way of people is the fear that the person's going to get it wrong. They're going to make a mistake. Unless, it's a life and death situation, making mistakes is actually part of learning. Not that you want to encourage people to make mistakes as such, but you want to encourage people to try. And when they make a mistake, instead of scolding them or making them wrong, helping them understand what they could have done differently to get a different result. Relationships, communication, appreciation, measurement and follow-up all really help you do one really important thing, and that's delegate to your staff so that they can contribute to your business. Now here's the thing, when you are doing this, you've got to consider 4 types of employees. She's a real contributor. Those passenger employees, proud passengers. In different passengers, then you get mavericks. The final one is the terrorist employee. Now they are not aligned and they are not contributing. In fact, they're doing the exact opposite of contributing. They're damaging your business. We've got to create a relationship with those people that enables us to delegate. There's really only one way to create relationships, and that's in having conversations. A SMART goal. Now, that's great for goal setting, but it's not great for delegating, because it doesn't include the person. I like to use craft for delegating. C is challenge, challenging them to step up, to be realistic, to be within that person's range. The next one is aligned, in sync with them and their purpose. Then it's got to fit in. It's got to fit in not just with you and the business, but with them and what they're doing in the business. And finally, it's got to be time limited. The time to follow up and measure that person. The reason people aren't doing what you want them to do when you want them to do it is you probably haven't challenged them correctly without setting them up to succeed. The second reason is you're probably not engaging in conversation with them, not having a relationship with them that is there to support them actually delivering the task you want them to deliver. The next thing that's missing is you're probably not appreciating them for their efforts, and you're not measuring them, and you're not following up. So those 6 simple steps are really simple, and if you get those right, you will dramatically change the performance of your team, and it won't be them that's changed, but what will have changed is your approach to them, and the results will be amazing. So if you want to learn how to get the people who work with you to perform better, to do the things you want them to do when you want to do it, the person who needs to change is you, and you need to change your relationship and your approach to them. Just before we go, next week's Facebook Live is going to be about relationships. Good relationships can lead to friendship, absolutely. But good relationships start with very clear purpose and a very clear dynamic, and always around achieving some outcome together. My relationship with you, for example, my purpose of my relationship with my audience is to provide you with the opportunity to build the foundations that are going to enable you to grow your business. And those foundations are going to be in the areas of purpose, vision, and values, in behavior, in the customer journey, and in leadership. My purpose in life is to help 10,000 businesses get great foundations in their business to help them grow. But how do you then build relationships with your team so that they make the best contribution to you and therefore help you get your business from where it is today to where you want it to be? Anyway, so I'll see you next week, same time, same place, 12:30, in From Survival to Success, and I hope you have a fantastic week.